Okay, go.
Declaration of Interdependence, read at the Declaration of Interdependence, read at the birthplace of independence. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for people to restructure the economic bands which have connected them with others, and to assume among the responsibilities of the earth the interconnected and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God require of them. A decent respect for the opinions of humankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to this interconnection. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, corporations are instituted among us, deriving their just powers from the consent of those who dedicate their lives to them, that whenever any form of corporation becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new economic structures, laying their foundations on such principles and organizing their powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that corporations long established shall not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that people are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such corporations and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these people, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of economic sustenance. The history of the present corporate leaders is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over the people. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. They have refused to assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for public good. They have forbidden the elected governors chosen by them to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance. They have used their unnatural political influence to pervert the process of drawing the boundaries of congressional districts, to rob the people of the right to a fair vote. They have refused to allow the passage of other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those laws be written to conform to their narrow economic interests, the effect being that the laws be ineffectual to their initial purpose. They have corrupted the political legislative process to be unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the goals and aspirations of the people, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with their measures. They have engaged in repeated and flagrant political corruption to thwart the will of the people. They have endeavored to prevent the legal population of these corporations, for that purpose obstructing the laws for the naturalization of foreigners, to secure a permanent group of people condemned to bare sustenance for the sole purpose of increasing their net operating income. They have erected a multitude of new companies and sent hither swarms of workers to harass our people and eat out their sustenance. They have combined together to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving their assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us for the purpose of securing their private interests, for engaging in deceptive dialogue to avoid responsibility for and the need to change practices that have injured countless numbers of people through the sale of cigarettes and the production of greenhouse gases, for the voracious destruction of the natural world and creation of an environment with levels of extinction of numerous magnificent creations seen only once before in our knowledge of time, for blatant disregard for the effects of toxic chemicals and the destruction of habitat and poisoning of people, for engaging in employment practices that have repeatedly stripped people of access to affordable health care, a livable wage, workplace protections, and the ability to have the time and resources to create a healthy, nurturing family life, for the corruption of our tax laws to avoid paying a fair share of the cost of a civil society, and the intentional shifting of the tax burden to the hard-working middle class, for repeated meddling in the political electoral process to the effect of gaining more influence and power than is due them as individuals, for the repeated and outrageous dehumanizing treatment of people who are engaged in the activity of making them money, for flaunting their extreme wealth and conspicuous consumption of the limited resources of the earth, for dismantling the efficiency and competence of our governmental agencies by the placement of cronies and political operatives in positions of extreme importance to further their own narrow interests. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A leader whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of an incorporation of free people. They have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. There is no need to acquiesce in the necessity of holding any person enemy for as long as they hold themselves in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United Economic States of Earth, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for restitution of our intentions, do, in the name and authority of the good people of these unions, solemnly publish and declare that these United Economic States are, and of right ought to be, free and interdependent unions, that they are resolved to the allegiance to the future generations of this earth, and that all economic connection between them and all others is and ought to be totally resolved to planning for the seventh generation yet to be, and that as free and interdependent unions, they have the full power to protect their interests, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to all other acts and things which interdependent unions may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.